So now we're up on the balcony, or technically mezzanine, and that's not a part of the show, but it is a nice natural work of art. I think it's driftwood.
Nice piece of wood. So the upstairs is sort of a mirror of the downstairs. You've got pieces like this that I think show that the student is working sort of out of the box, and I'm not sure what the project could have been that resulted in this piece, but there's, maybe perhaps a certain curtailment to the scale that might have kept it from being, maybe rising up a little bit higher in the order. If this were like a college student and you're putting this in a show, this section here might have been, 8 by 8 foot area.
More life size for the shark.
Just so that it scale, in other words, scale is one of those features, characteristics of art that sometimes isn't really talked about all that much. But the idea that had this been scaled up, the prominence would have been, I think, much, much greater. And, so you might say, well, is that true of everything? If I take this painting and scale it up so that it's, 10 foot by 10 foot, is that going to make it a better painting? I don't know if I would say it does. And so in some sense, the painting may be, it would work at a bigger scale as it does in a smaller scale. I don't know if it would work as a postage stamp, perhaps. But I think in contrast to this, where the scale, I think, would make it like a little more of a wow kind of reaction to it.
So that's not necessarily the fault of the
No.
artist or the
No,
classroom.
no. It's the classroom, right? You just can't do that in a high school classroom. You could barely do it. If you went to a really good art school where they've got lots of space for you, like a lot of students, by the time they're juniors, they have their own studio, and so they've got 20 by 20 feet of room, and you can do something big. And but the idea that you're going to do that in high school is not probably what's going to be available for you to work in.
But you got to start somewhere.
But you start somewhere, and again, I think the idea is one that I would convey to the student, that you're working with interesting concepts, and I could show you probably half a dozen professional artists that are doing something that they would look at and go, wow, wouldn't that really look good if it were as big as what they were making it, even though they might be working with different subject matter and different content. Obviously, we look at something like this, and I think this is a digital image. And so I think they're working, I would hazard to guess what program they're working, but a very sophisticated image. And I don't think anybody could look at it and find much of anything that they would go, well, if blah, 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 it would be better. In some sense, that's kind of pushing out there on a skill level that I doubt we would find any better in high schools. But and this is where jury always becomes a personal kind of expression or activity. I would look at an image like this in contrast, which is a hand-drawn image, and find a great deal greater satisfaction in it. And not that, I don't know if I would equate the satisfaction as being equal here. And I just find this more compelling. in terms of the experience of mark making, let's say. And somehow, and this is maybe my own deficit as an educator, you know, I've never really felt comfortable with the computer generated image making. And I've had
Something not done by hand.
every opportunity to be at the forefront of that revolution. You know, I've been working with computers since I was a freshman in high school back in 1969. Okay, and I've been at every step of the way in terms